KOMO Sports Director Niko Tamurian and Najee Moye.
Welcome to the KOMO Sports End Zone podcast. I'm Niko Tamurian. That guy over there is Najee Moye. Najee, what's up, man?
Niko, how's it doing? How you doing? How is it doing? How are you doing?
I'm in a throwback kind of mood, Najee.
We both are. You're doing a good job with the collar.
These are so cool.
Yeah, these are killer. These are like I can't even explain.
Pete Carroll said it was a brilliant blue when he talked about it. And here's the thing about it. You know, Eric Johnson was actually making this point. I know you have an Eric story too, so I don't mean to steal that thunder, but
no, it's okay.
He was saying how, you know, a lot of the guys in the team weren't even alive or certainly don't have a memory of the Seahawks wearing these in the late 70s, early and 90s. So it's really new to them, but they love them. It's universal. Oh my gosh, we love these things. This is great. It's a lot of fun to see, but I'll tell you what, Naj, it's a tough game. We're going to talk more about the throwbacks, but it's a really difficult game against these Cleveland Browns, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, we talk about the Cleveland Browns and we're talking about, and I can tell you, from across the league, we're talking about like the best defense in football. Not even one of the best. Not even like no. This is what they do. The Cleveland Browns are a defensive team. Let's talk about really quickly the game they played against. By the way, the Browns are also 4-2, same exactly record as the Seahawks. Talk about the game that the Browns played, a very high-scoring game, a crazy nuts game against the Indianapolis Colts with a Coug under center, Gardner Minshew. He did rush for 2 touchdowns, and if you saw the game, you saw he did a little shoulder shimmy on both touchdowns, which I can't unsee. Believe me, I can't unsee it. But the one player I believe that, and it's obvious that the Hawks have to look out for, is Myles Garrett. He jumped over a human being to block a field goal. Not just like, because you really can't jump over anyone anymore in the NFL.
Right.
You know, you really shouldn't, and it's frowned upon. And we see clips of him doing box jumps, and Myles Garrett is a defensive end. He's about 280 pounds. He's
That all?
he's about 6'3", 6'4", even probably taller, jumping completely over another offensive lineman to block a field goal. This is a type of, and the Browns have a lot of players like this on their team. I think the Hawks are in for one this weekend, but honestly, this is a great test. This is a great test for a 4-2 football team.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, and I'll say this: I think that what we're looking for out of the Seahawks is that consistency that we saw in that 3-game win streak, and certainly they've been through all sorts of injuries. We understand that, but what you were looking for when they lost to Cincinnati was some sort of, okay, we're back. Yeah. Now they beat Arizona, but there were still admittedly things to clean up, some of the mistakes, the turnovers, things like that. They certainly looked a lot better.
Right.
But this is that game that tells you if they're back or not.
Surely you want to muster more than 20 points against the Cardinals.
Right.
But, as we talk about, the matchup, if you've been listening to this podcast, first of all, thank you. Second of all, I mean, we know how we've been harping on how hard these division games are. We play a team twice a year. The Cardinals are a better team than often, many people give credit for. That being said, there's things to clean up, but the Hawks leaned on some guys that they don't usually lean on, offensively,
Right.
So and they may come into a big play this weekend.
I agree with you here. So certainly Seahawks favored by 3.5 points. I'm taking the Hawks by 3.5. I think that's the way to go. Don't take my word for it though. Let's take a look at Pete Carroll. He's excited about this matchup. He thinks this could be something that defines the year.
We got a big matchup coming up. Excited about it because these guys are so good. They've got some stuff that they're working through as well. But what a great matchup for us, and it's the kind of matchup that you got to have if you're going to do anything with the season. You got to play teams that are like this, and so we'll look forward to seeing the Browns come in and see if we can get ready for another big night or big day at Lumen. So we're looking.
That was Pete Carroll on the matchup. That was at his Wednesday press conference. And one thing about Pete, I mean, he's been around long enough that he knows something when he sees it.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's saying that this is the kind of team that you have to beat, to have the kind of season you want to, I think that resonates because you can be 4-2 and everybody can be excited about it, but it's going to matter more when you beat teams that are also of playoff caliber, which is weird to say with the Browns, but certainly they look the part this year. And when you talk about Myles Garrett, Pete Carroll is talking about a guy that just is it. Like he's everything. They don't come like him is what Pete was saying. And so I think, and then you talk about PJ Walker, he's a guy that he's just been winning. I mean, Deshaun Watson's the starter, but here comes PJ Walker, and he ho-hum beats the Niners and wins a shootout with the Colts. I mean, Naj, I'm telling you, this is going to be a really, really interesting game at Lumen on Sunday.
It's going to be a really interesting game. I'm excited for the game. I love a great, and Pete also seemed very fired up. By the way, he seemed, because this is strictly like defense on defense. Essentially, I mean, it's not exactly how the game is played, no, but I mean that's going to be the main focus of the game. I mean, I have been gushing about Myles Garrett. Since
it's okay.
Yeah, but I knew he was different whenever during the Pro Bowl games last year. I watched him play dodgeball in Vans, so I just knew this man was built different. So all together. But I think it'll be a fantastic game. It'll be nice and cold. We'll have the cool jerseys on, and that being said, the whole entire league will be watching because 2 good 4-2 teams, fantastic jerseys in Seattle. It will probably be something like about 40 degrees outside, maybe ish.
I hope not.
Yeah, Niko will be out there.
If
you see him, give him some hot chocolate because he may need it. No, it's gonna be very cold, and it's gonna be a great. This is the game that can probably define a season for both teams.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy you didn't ask me who I thought would win because I'm still going back and forth.
We'll give you like a half hour on that one.
I'm still thinking about it because this could be a push. I mean, the Browns did barely beat the Colts last week, and the Browns are a very good team, but the Colts are a team that can come up and bite you sometimes.
Yeah,
with a backup quarterback on both sides. So it'll be a fun experience. If you're going to the game, first of all, give Niko a parka and a hoodie.
I'm gonna hide in that press box until I have to get out.
But this is a Pete Carroll type game as I think about this. So
oh my gosh,
yeah, 2 great running backs. Kareem Hunt just recently got signed to the Browns, and K9 may be the MVP of the Seahawks offense so far this year. I mean, I'm excited to see it,
and we certainly anticipate DK Metcalf coming back, and that's something that's exciting from the standpoint. I mean, listen, get DK Metcalf back. I mean, that's all you really need to talk about in that regard. But it's interesting that he's coming off this injury. He was able to chat with reporters on Wednesday. He looks good. And his return, when I say it's interesting, it's obviously exciting that you're always getting an athlete of that caliber back. But in his absence, Jackson Smith and Jake Bobo both had some great catches, and I thought that was awesome. I got to show Bobo on the phone. I'm like, hey, man, look at this. We did a live interview after the game. That was a lot of fun. Tell you what, there's something Najee and I want to talk to everybody about. It's our KOMO 4 keys for this one. So this is what we're talking about with this game. What are some 4 things we're looking at? And I'll say this, Najee, it comes down to a few things. For me, I think when you look at this matchup, we've already kind of hit on the main point of this, that you got to have it. You have to put everything behind you. Bobby Wagner told me on Wednesday that, just like you can't let a loss linger and determine what happens the next week, you also can't let a win do the same thing. Mm-hmm. So that's important to me in that regard. But I'll say this, we've really hit the nail on the head, I think, with this as being one of the most interesting games in all of the NFL this week.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. We're going to go down, the 4 keys here, if you're completely ready. But, the Hawks defense may be one of the is a very great defensive unit. I mean, I've seen reports that the rookie Spoon, as he's called, may be one of the best cornerbacks in the league already.
He looks awesome.
Yeah. So I mean, and this is very much like Legion of Boone-esque. He's very much a Legion of Boone-esque player.
You're seeing those ingredients.
You're seeing it already.
Right.
In his rookie year, we're talking about. This is a game that we're going to see a lot. Just, I mean, we talk about the offense, and also little parentheses. Last week, I did mention that we're going to see Jackson Smith and Najee get the ball more, and look what happened last week. Perfect, right?
Well done.
Yeah. So, but I do think that one thing we also saw last week is we saw some turnovers from the Hawks. I right before the podcast, I asked Niko, I was like, the Hawks scored 20 points against the Cardinals, and I was aware of it, but I had to remind myself. I'm like, but that being said, we talk about the defense and we talk about limiting turnovers. You want to play a clean game.
Yeah,
and if you can, but the thing is, the Browns don't want you to play a clean game, on offense, because they want to get to the quarterback. Geno Smith was sacked twice last week, but the week before he got hit a lot again in Cincinnati. Cincinnati and Cleveland don't have the same defense. It's both from Ohio, different defenses. But I think as I mentioned before, who may be the MVP of the Seahawks offense, K9. I mean, he's one of the fastest humans.
Mhm.
Even when he was in Michigan State, I think he may have been on track to win the Heisman, at least for a little bit. And he's still as good as he was then, even better as a Seahawk. And we're happy he's here, by the way. And now, also, the reason why Niko and I are both wearing these jerseys, because if you're going to the game on Sunday, you'll notice Lumen Field will look a lot different.
Yeah, let's take a look at these now. These
Yeah.
photos courtesy of the Seahawks. Really paying homage to the that era. Pete Carroll saying that it was really cool to, again, pay tribute to those guys who played in those uniforms in
Yeah.
70s, 80s, and 90s. And I thought that was a really cool thing. He said actually gives them a little extra juice, like they're playing for something in that regard.
The Cortez Kennedys of the world, you know.
Yeah,
I mean,
no
this is
kidding.
who we're talking about, you know.
There's something to be said for that. You know, the whole look good, feel good, play good. Like that's real, man. And I think that is it an X factor in an NFL game? No, but I think it's a thing. Like they're excited. They want to. You don't want to start this whatever this is era in.
This is the only
where
game they're wearing these this year.
They could wear it another one if they want. But this is
Oh,
the only
that's the
scheduled game. They
Oh.
can wear a road version if they like.
Well, if you look
But-
good, you'll play
But
good.
you don't want to start it with a loss.
No.
And
no.
you said something earlier. First of all, these jerseys are phenomenal, and I
Sure.
think so many would love to see them be more than a 1 or 2 game deal. Not even saying permanent, but I think that if you think about the Seahawks uniforms, there's these ones that represent an era. There's that midnight blue type that represents that first Super Bowl bid when they lost to the Steelers in that early 2000s. And then there's the current version, which is associated with the only Super Bowl win. But I think at some point, this current iteration is going to run into something, and they're going to have to come up with something new, or maybe tweak it. And it'll be interesting to see what they do in that regard. I think any uniform fan out there, certainly the Hawks have one of the cleanest, but it's been over 10 years now that they've been wearing the current. I'm not talking about this version, but like the navy and action green and wolf gray and all that stuff.
Niko, I've got a hot take.
Is it time for an extra point?
It could be time for an extra point. I've got
Super Intern Mary is going to punch up the extra point here for us because Najee wants to make a point. And when we say it's an extra point, it's kind of our version of a hot take. Go ahead, Naj, take it away.
Listen, Niko mentioned these uniform people. I am a uniform person.
Okay.
As you mentioned, I'm a New York Giants fan. When last week we wore our throwback uniforms, harkening back to the 80s and the 90s, our heyday. Okay, take that aside. You don't want to lose in these jerseys because they look so good. And I think there is definitely a movement in the NFL now of maybe kind of throwing it back to the past, but maybe making it permanent. You know, there's a big call for Tampa to go back to their orange creamsicle jerseys. You know, those are clean. You know, as I mentioned, the Giants were in their 80s, the Lawrence Taylor jerseys, I call them. They look fantastic. They're changing the whole. But I truly feel that now is the time for the Hawks to make this switch. Whenever they announced that they would be wearing these, the whole city kind of was like, "This was." I mean, since I've lived here. We think about the Russell Wilson trade. I moved here in 2020. Talk about the Russell Wilson trade, the Bobby Wagner release, and after that, even announcing these jerseys would be coming back was, I would say, one of the bigger things, for the Seahawks. I am tired of the current Seahawks jerseys.
Oh, so there's your extra point.
Because I think they're very much like retro cybertech kind of, the Falcons kind of did away with the Michael Vick jerseys, if you've seen them, with all the stripes on the sides and the armpits, and the special letterings, and and that's fine, and the Hawks kind of have something very similar to that with the Seahawks written over here, and you got a bunch of little lime green things here. Throw away the lime green jerseys, we don't want them.
Hey, whoa,
I'm just saying,
okay, I like action green with a navy helmet, navy pants. All action green's a little bright,
all in the action green,
but give me like navy pants and helmets, and I'm going to defend the action green,
and I like
because there's nothing else like it in the NFL. But continue. I did not mean to interrupt.
No, you're completely.
I jumped off sides there.
It's okay. We're gonna flag Niko here, but it's completely okay, and I get where he's coming from. I don't dislike all of them. They do have an all gray uniform. They won't wear this year, but I think also looks fantastic. Look at the totality of this look. The silver helmets, this jersey, the silver pants. Back then, they wore a beautiful white jersey, which honestly, if I couldn't find a Jim Zorn white cool. number 10 jersey, so I would be wearing that right now because I think that's so clean, especially with the white and silver and the blue. If you're listening, Seahawks Nation, I don't know if we can start a petition. I just think that fashion-wise, NFL fashion-wise, we're getting to the situation where less is more. And this is less, and less is more.
And this is an identity, and I don't think there's the green here, the apple green.
It just fits
with the blue. There's not, like I talked about, the action green being on its own. There's not another team that has this color scheme either, really.
Right.
And I just think it looks clean. It looks good. If they wore these the rest of the year, I don't think anybody would complain.
No,
not one. I mean, well, there's always somebody, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, and that person can complain to me directly if they want to speak to me.
What if they Najee, if they win in these Sunday, like they have to keep wearing it, right?
Well, that's the thing. As I mentioned, the Giants have worn their throwback, their 80s throwbacks. Last year was the first year, and they did again this year. They're 2-0. I'm just saying, just throwing it out there,
Hey,
and they don't win much. So,
what do you think? I'm going to step out Seattle for a second,
okay,
and then we'll jump back in.
Sure.
Because we're on the subject of throwbacks.
Yeah.
What do you think about the Tennessee Titans wearing the Houston Oilers throwbacks when they kind of stole that team? Like, to me, that's like Oklahoma City wearing a Sonics jersey. And it's a little different, I suppose, that Houston has a new franchise with the Texans, but it's just like, listen, I love those powder blue. I think they're cool, but I'm like, you stole that team.
You made a great analogy just saying comparing it to Oklahoma City and the Sonics, which is, Oklahoma City has had, the Thunder for quite some time, and you have not seen them go back to a Sonics.
I think
for a very particular reason.
I think Seattle fans would light up social media with that, and I think I don't want to go there. My blood's boiling thinking honestly, about this hypothetical thing that probably won't ever happen because we'll get our Sonics back before they do that.
As a jersey, to answer your question, as a jersey itself, though, I think the throwback Houston Oilers jersey is fantastic. The only difference is, Houston now has a football team, so it's a little bit different. I think they're beautiful jerseys, though. I think maybe if they had incorporated more of a Titan-ish, sword, a T with the stars on it, Yeah, I think it'd be fine. I think it'd be fine.
Yeah. Okay. So I got something else I want to talk about with the Seahawks here.
Yeah.
When it comes to, we talked about those keys earlier. The big thing to me is the rise of Geno Smith has been his efficiency, how much he protects the ball, how he makes great decisions. And in that Cincinnati game and even in the Arizona game, we saw some uncharacteristic stuff. And I think the key to the Hawks beating the Browns, I think the key to the Hawks having the kind of season we all think and hope they can have is Geno getting back to the Geno we saw early this season, especially against the Lions, which was a great win in hindsight.
Yeah.
Also, what we saw last year. Uncharacteristic mistakes. I don't know where it's coming from. And G is like taking full ownership from it, and that's wonderful. You want to see that in your quarterback, but you got to see him clean it up. And I know he can do it because we've seen him do it for a season plus. But that's the key for me, for them to beat the Browns and move forward. I said I think the Seahawks cover 3.5. I'm going to go with the Seahawks winning 35-31. It's going to be a close cover. Najee, what do you like?
Oh, boy. I don't really like anything. This is going to be a great
I suppose that means it's going to be an over?
Well, I think it'll be a great – the thing is 20 points might win this game. You
think it's going to be the other? See, I'm thinking shootout.
But
I think the Seahawks defense, to your point, looks much better right now.
Looks much better, and we talk about PJ Walker. Nick Chubb is not playing for the Browns. But Kareem Hunt is. He scored 2 touchdowns last week, and he had been signed for like 3 days prior to that. I think it'll be tough. If the Hawks win, I think it'll be close, and I think it may be a 20-17 game. And if the Hawks win, this says a lot about the Hawks season, because I have the utmost respect for the Browns. Look at the division they play in. Just the week after the Browns game, the Seahawks have to play against a Browns division rival, the Baltimore Ravens, who has like the second best defense in the league. And you mentioned
critical stretch here.
And you mentioned the Lions. This same Ravens team decimated the Lions, ran them off the field essentially last week. So I think that we're going to learn a lot about the Hawks against the Browns. They have. I mean, we talked about. We'll get into the Huskies in a second, but we talked about how treacherous their stretches that here are coming up. These 2 games with the Seahawks, we didn't expect the Browns and the Ravens. Well, maybe they're definitely the Ravens, maybe not so much the Browns. I want to say if the Hawks win, it'll be a 20-17 game.
Okay,
this is how I will couch it. Yes.
Yeah, but you make a great point. This next stretch of games is suddenly like critical.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a stretch that before the season you're like, okay, this is where they really have to win 4 or 5 or whatever the number may be, because you have Niners, Cowboys, Niners, Eagles in a 4-week stretch around the holidays.
Right.
And so, but let's not count out the Rams who already beat the Seahawks. Let's not count out before that, of course, these 2 games with the Browns and Ravens coming up. So this is a critical stretch, and that's why Geno's got to clean it up, and I think he will. He's proven it enough. He's got the right mindset. Man, I'll tell you what, I like your point about the defense. They look fantastic. You're talking about a pass rush that's getting home.
Yeah.
To me, the difference has been Jamal Adams.
Yeah.
He just completely changes the game. They almost line him up like he's a linebacker out there sometimes. And like, it just changes every dynamic. It allows Quandre to try and be more of a ball hawk because he knows Jamal's there too. He knows Devin Witherspoon is there. He knows Reek Woolen is there. I mean, that secondary, my goodness, it's incredible. Maybe the best in the NFL with all of these guys healthy.
Definitely.
And then you got Julian Love, who's a great player.
We love Julian.
And Trey Brown. There's a lot of depth there. And so to me, that translates. And then that you have an excellent secondary, which allows you to kind of tee off on the QB a little bit. And that's why Boye Mafe is getting home. Darryl Taylor had a couple nice plays in the backfield. We know Uchenna Nwosu is out for the season, but Frank Clark coming home.
That is huge.
That's huge.
That's huge. Yeah.
And Pete Carroll expects him to play this weekend. So I think that it's something where they're not going to, they're going to miss a beat a little bit just because Chenna is one of the best in the league. But as far as it being some kind of like, oh my gosh, this is it. Pass rush is gone. Well, not so much.
Yeah, not so much.
Frank's a star in his own way, and there's a couple of young guys back there. Let's not forget my guy Derek Hall with all the big trucks he makes. Remember that story?
Oh yeah.
We'll have to put that up here next time.
We'll have to put that out there.
Next time Daryl Hall gets a sack, we will play that story for people here.
Another big key is I want to see how these Seahawks rookie receivers line up against these cornerbacks for Cleveland.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. I'm excited. I think it'll be a great game. It's my type of football, man. It's cold outside. You got the jacket on. With a lot of big hits. Myles Garrett jumping over people. It's running the ball. This is exactly, and beautiful uniforms, by the way. More importantly, Niko's wearing the actual one that
I will wear this to bed if they win.
He's wearing the one.
I will wear this the rest of the week if they win.
He's wearing the one that they'll actually be wearing on the field. I'm wearing the one that this one is inspired by. So it'd be cool. It'd be very cool.
Awesome jerseys.
It's
been really cool to see the guys, by the way, at their press conferences wearing the gear. The Bobo's wearing the classic hat, which literally says Seattle Seahawks on it. It's cool. Najee, do you think it's time for a little hot and cold?
I think so.
Let's put a clarifier out there because we confused ourselves with our own segment here. Hot means we agree with it. Hot means hot is good. Cold is no.
No. Well, ice cold. Yeah.
That's my fault. I picked that segment.
No. I love the idea. I must have missed.
He's too nice. It's a radio show or a podcast, or a stream. Make fun of me. I don't care.
I missed day one. I was the worst person in college because if I missed day one of class and I missed that syllabus day, I'm asking people just hey, so what exactly are we doing? That's me. So this tracks for me.
Okay.
Personally.
So hot or cold? You don't see super intern Mary. She's controlling things here. Mary, what's our first one? What's that? What I put up at the top of the list there?
I think I can read off.
Are we worried about UW football? I'm going to take this first. You can.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm cold on that. I'm not worried about UW football. To me,
interesting.
And we're supposed to disagree. I'm pointing the wrong way. It's that way, but to me, to win a championship, you got to fight through adversity. There is always, always, always going to be that game that tests you. That is everything. Nothing about it makes sense. Everything is going wrong. But if you find a way to win, that shows who you are. And for me, the Huskies, they found a way to win. It was unthinkable that Michael Penix and that offense was not rolling against lowly Arizona State, who I think the Cougs will beat this weekend, by the way. But they found a way. And Mish Powell, that interception, 90 yards for a touchdown.
Clutch.
It's everything. And to me, that's what everything is look at North Carolina. They were undefeated, number 10 in the country. They lost to Virginia because they're not a championship team. They could not find a way to overcome the adversity, but the Dogs did. It does not matter if in December they're in that college football playoff bracket, how many points they beat Arizona State by, or how many yards Mike Penix threw for. Mike will be back. There's just something about Arizona State. It was a weird game. It was on the heels of that crazy emotional Oregon win. So maybe you'd like to see them come out a little bit better out of that. That's maybe the one takeaway. But for me, it's that they have the mettle. They fought through the adversity. They were losing 7-6 when they're the highest scoring offense in the country, just about. And you're down 7-6 in the fourth quarter, yet you didn't get rattled. And the defense played outstanding and made the play it had to. Gosh, I think I was impressed with the way they won. And to me, it's because it's not okay, they won by 40. It's because there was so much weird stuff about this game and they found a way. And to me, that means so much more than if they were to, beat on Arizona State 45-0. because you're supposed to do that. But there's going to be some unexpected stuff. And it's how you respond to that when you get punched in the mouth, as the old football adage goes. How do you respond? And the Huskies responded by getting a win they needed. Now let's see if they can run Stanford off the field and show us that they're still that dominant team we all believe they are, at ranked number 5 in the country. But Naj, I'm cold on that. I'm not worried about UW. If anything, it bolsters my confidence in them.
You know, at the beginning of your monologue, which was fantastic, by the way,
It was kind of long. It kind of was like a monologue.
Well, it was, but I was
impassioned.
You were impassioned, and you not only swayed me because I was.
No, don't let me sway you. Let's hear what you're.
Well, here's the thing, because I was lukewarm on the Huskies.
So we're gonna just do this on temperatures.
Yeah.
Lukewarm, mild.
I was
chilly.
Well, when I walked into work today, I was thinking, I was like, man, 15 points against Arizona State, But I'm thinking back of the totality of all my college football watching experience, and all the seasons gone by, and we look at the teams that have won championships, and we think about all the roads that they have to go through. I mentioned, I was talking a lot about SEC football last episode. If you're listening, if you were, thank you. I will thank you every time, by the way.
Because he's polite.
I'm polite.
I'm not.
I'm polite mostly. The short answer is I am also cold on the Huskies, because you almost have to be lucky as opposed to good. Maybe not lucky, but you have to have breaks. You want to be able to run through every team by 70 points. And some teams do. But oftentimes, it's just not possible. We had an instant classic on Montlake against with UW in Oregon, likes of which we may not ever see, at least not in the Pac-12, unfortunately. Going forward for UW next year.
Right.
The defense stepping up. I've been very tough on the Huskies defense going forward. Past couple weeks prior to the Oregon game, because of just statistically how much yards they've given up against teams like Tulsa and Boise State, but the numbers just don't add up. I'm cold on them because they have the opportunity to really just. They're not playing like a super intense team again this week. They're playing Stanford. Stanford's claim to fame is beaten or Colorado, which Colorado is the first year of that Deion Sanders, era.
Well, that was crazy, that comeback. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's their claim to fame right now. I don't think we'll see anything close to that against the Huskies. The Huskies, will make the college football playoff this year. And I just don't see them having another 15-point game where the offense doesn't score a single offensive touchdown and no one scores a touchdown, or no one, the Huskies scores a touchdown till the fourth quarter. I just can't see that happening again. Given what has happened in the season so far, and just even last year, it will almost not even compute to me. My brain will allow it to happen. So
I convinced you is what you're saying?
You've chilled me out a bit.
Like you were lukewarm, and now you're like
you put some ice,
40s and rain, and I'm like 20 degrees in snow.
You put some ice in the drink. Okay. So
okay.
Yeah.
Mary, what's next? Is the Seahawks defense elite? We'll give Mary a microphone next week.
Yeah.
I think we're both hot on this one, right?
Yeah, they're not elite.
No. Hot means I'm on it. I think they're elite.
Oh, I'm cold on it.
Sorry. We disagree.
I'm sorry.
All right, let me hear it, Nash.
Here's the thing. We talk about elite teams on defense, and you want to be scared. When I think about defense, I think about fear. Okay, you want to be a fear monger. You want to strike. And the thing is, I like the Seahawks defense a lot. And Spoon, I was talking about him very highly just recently. And the whole entire secondary, I compared them to Legion of Boom. Are they scary right now? No. Is Myles Garrett scary? Yes. Is the Ravens defense scary? Yes. Is the Jets defense scary? Yes. Is the Cowboys defense scary? As a Giants fan, week 1, I could tell you I was mortified. Okay. That's all I have to say about that. I think the Seahawks defense is good. I think they're very improved. Elite. I listed 5 teams that are better than them on defense, truthfully.
Sure. So that's probably not elite by definition.
Not elite by definition. Appropriate, good, can get better. Playoff worthy. Yeah. Elite is not the word I would use. No.
I like that. That's fair. To me, I think they have the foundation to make it something like the Legion of Boom. You're never going to recreate Legion of Boom. Those guys were just such a unique collection of characters as far as their personalities are concerned. But I do think that they will get to something similar. We'll just have to give them a new nickname, or Legion of Boom 2 if we're just being unoriginal about it. I do think they're elite. I think that what makes me believe that is the way we've seen them lock down the last couple of weeks, and really the last 3 weeks, if you go back to the Giants game. They've just looked to me elite. And I think what you said is certainly fair. But I raved about that secondary. I'm going to go, I think it's the best NFL. It's at least the deepest as far as talent is concerned.
Oh, yeah.
And then your linebackers are Bobby Wagner and Jordan Brooks.
Come on.
with Jamal Adams leaking up so Julian Love can go back there. And like, if there's anything, that defensive line, maybe, could maybe, but it's hard to knock the defensive line when they're getting the results they did, like against the Giants, and some of the other teams they have. So I'm going to say hot on this one. I think they're elite. I like everything they've done lately. I think the return of Jamal Adams makes this elite, not singularly by his return, as talented as he may be, but by what his return allows everybody else to do, allows everybody else to do their thing and to really bring out the best in them. Jordan Brooks, let's not forget, had a serious ACL injury at the end of last season, yet he came back by training camp and he's playing at an incredibly high level. And you bring Bobby Wagner back in the fold, not just because he's super talented still, but that leadership. In that Giants game, he had 17 tackles and 2 sacks. So to me,
to be
ultimately,
fair, everyone is sacking Daniel Jones this year. So let's just be fair about that.
Sure. The final answer to this question will be made abundantly clear by January. And I don't know who's right or wrong for sure, but in my opinion, I think they're elite. I'm hot on that.
I have problems with the word elite also.
What?
Yeah.
Don't make me pull up that extra point graphic.
I'm just fired up, man. But no, I can see what you mean, and I understand.
The extra point last week I had about preseason polls. That was probably about as angry as I get.
If that's as angry as Niko gets, I think I've said enough slanderous things on this exact podcast today. I would never. No, would never. No. But I do see what you mean, though. We have one more temperature rating here.
I think we got 2, or was it one more? One more.
Yeah.
All right, what is it? Oh, let's switch gears to baseball. Back to baseball. We talked about Huskies. We talked about Seahawks. Are the Mariners that close?
That close?
Hot meaning, well, it's like to the World Series, like to what we're seeing. Hot meaning, heck yeah, they are. Cold meaning, no, they're not. And I think this is the one that's going to polarize a lot of people out there. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say hot on this one. Here's why.
You're so optimistic. It's nice.
Well, that's just in my nature. We need Najee on this show to like. But it's something where they finished one game behind the Texas Rangers, and look what the Rangers are doing. And they may even be the favorite to win the World Series. The Arizona Diamondbacks were 84-78 and are in the World Series. I understand why Jerry DiPoto's comments got fans so upset a couple weeks back. We were actually doing the fan base a favor by just building the sustainable winner and the 54%. But I get what he's saying. And this isn't to defend Jerry and Justin thing, although I do get what they're saying. I think it was a little bit like probably just not the right words.
It's not what
48 hours after you lost in the play or missed out in the playoffs. But back to the hot and cold in this one. Why I'm hot that they're that close is that you just need to get in the playoffs. Right. Anything can happen. I still contend that if Yordan Alvarez in game 1 of the 2022 ALDS doesn't hit that bomb off Robbie Ray, the Mariners win that series. They had so much momentum. They were there. Even in game 2, they came out and took the lead. I think the Mariners win that series if that doesn't happen in game 1. Now, I look at this team, and the reason I say they're close from a roster standpoint, I still think they have a World Series caliber rotation. If the Mariners were to ever get to the World Series and they could throw Luis Castillo, George Kirby, Logan Gilbert out in the first 3 nights, and then have any combination going forward with health reasons of Robbie Ray, Bryce Miller, Marco Gonzalez, they may, and Brian Wu in there too, and Emerson Hancock, and there's just so many names there that the rotation is World Series caliber. I truly believe that. B, we know they have to address the offense, and they may use one of those young arms I mentioned to address that. Now, they showed us this year that you can never have too many starting pitchers because like 4 of them got injured.
Right.
And thank goodness they had like 8 or whatever it was. So, but I think they're that close because all it takes is getting in.
Right.
As Arizona showed us, you just imagine, like, legitimately, all it takes is how the Mariners had that August if it just happened to occur in October.
Right.
And that's way, way, way easier said than done. That's minimalizing the whole darn thing. But I really believe that that's something that they can do, that's something they are that close on. And I think that the building blocks are there. And the young core is there, even offensively, guys like Julio Rodriguez. I would love to see them make a splash offensively, bring in a more reliable DH. You rub fans the wrong way when you run Tommy La Stella as your DH on opening day.
Boy.
But
yeah.
And Mike Ford did nice in that role as the summer went on, but find somebody that you want to play there every day, even if it's Shohei this coming season, which would be amazing.
Well,
but I'm not even that would be amazing.
Well, that changes everything.
Well, that changes everything. So that was a big sleep.
Whoa.
But I'm saying somebody that fills that gap. Okay, I'm rambling now because I do believe in that team, and I think I'm going hot on that one. I think they are that close because they only finished one game behind the Rangers, and they are a darn good baseball team. And I think they're going to be back in the postseason next year. I do. But Jerry and Justin, get some offense so I don't look stupid this time next year.
Niko, I agree with you, and I'm doubling down on everything you just said. I mean, we talk about the Rangers and where they are now, and we look at where they were at the end of the regular season. I mean, hey, the Mariners had an intense chance, but with baseball, it's just based on when you get hot,
Right.
It just, I mean, I'm a Yankees fan. 2 years ago, the Yankees had an all-time start to the year, and we stunk it up towards the end of the year. The Mariners have had hot streaks; they've had not so hot streaks. The Diamondbacks are hot.
That was the thing. That was the thing about this year. Like they were so hot and cold this year.
They've been so hot and cold, and I mean, and I also agree that the Mariners, and I think still have the best rotation in baseball, better than Diamondbacks and better than the Rangers, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Are the Mariners close? Well, by logic that I'm about to use, either they could be close. Anyone could be close. You consider how many games the Rangers lost last year before they spent a ton of money in the offseason. We look at the World Series. You look at two teams that did it completely different ways. I think Jerry DiPoto, when he talks about wanting to build a sustainable winner, he may be looking more like at Arizona. How they kind of built their squad.
They don't have some huge payroll like the Rangers
or the Padres or the Yankees.
Wow, that was his point, by the way, that the Rangers, or excuse me, the Padres and Yankees, the big payroll doesn't mean success.
It doesn't mean success, no. And I do think the Mariners,
but you need to. You
fill out the roster,
and they've signed. They have big deals like Julio, Luis Castillo, Robbie Ray got a massive deal a couple years ago.
Yeah.
But just bring in that offense. Make sure they got to make sure that the signings they make on offense this coming off season are hits.
I really believe though that the Mariners need they need two guys who can hit 40 and 35 home runs. Add those two people to the roster.
Well, yeah,
and we'll see. I mean, because I'm looking at the Rangers roster. And we look at guys who hit 39 home runs, 33 home runs, 29, 23, 19, 18. And then you have 17, 14, 10, 6. Like, these are home run hitters. I mean, even if you just only, hit 10 home runs in a year. I mean, we have some guys in the Mariners who were DHs that did not hit any home runs this year at all. So I do think that they're close because in baseball, when you have pitching and you get hot at a certain time, you can just flip the switch, It's a long season.
Yes.
If you told me at the beginning of this year if the Rangers and Diamondbacks would win the World Series, I'd be like, listen, maybe not talk to me anymore. But I think the Mariners are close, closer than they've been in years past. I can say because the past couple of years, the Mariners have been in it. I mean, since 2020. I mean, we're talking about in it to win it. At the very end. I do believe, however, that the offense needs to be addressed, kind of how the pitching was addressed, getting Luis Castillo.
Yeah.
We just need some more help on the offensive side. And you mentioned Shohei Ohtani. I booked up because I was like, well, you know what? I mean, that could be almost the answer to what all Mariners fans want. We know he's here in Kent in the off seasons and just kind of hang out in Soto during the summer would be great.
Pretty awesome.
Very pretty awesome. Yeah.
Let's talk about Arizona really quick because they've got some cool local connections. We miss you, Paul Sewald.
Miss you.
Yeah, one of the great guys, helps out Kid Vantage to help babies in the Puget Sound, pledges for strikeout. And Corbin Carroll, the Lakeside grad, Seattle native.
Great hair.
Excellent hair. I got to interview him. I mean, I interviewed Paul a bunch when he was here, but of course, I got to interview Corbin during the All-Star festivities. And he was on that magenta T-Mobile carpet they had on Pike Place. And he's like, oh, my parents used to take me here. I used to get like the honey sticks and the pierogies. And I'm like, you're such a Seattle dude. And now he's at the World Series. I wish he was doing it for the Mariners. It's not like he just drafted by the Diamondbacks in 2019. But let's root for those guys. Best of luck to those dudes. And, man, I'm telling you right now.
So we're definitely rooting for the Diamondbacks.
I think so.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
I think so.
Oh, yeah. Certainly.
Yeah, and I think that it'll be tough.
We also need to thank the Rangers for beating the Astros.
What do you think about that series? Like, what are you going with that?
Well, Dusty Baker's retiring now.
Good old Dusty.
Good old
I like
Dusty.
Dusty.
I like Dusty.
Even though I don't like the Astros, I like Dusty.
I like Dusty. I mean, the Rangers, but they put their money where their mouth was, and they were like, you know what, we're gonna 7-game series, or two 7-game series, and both, and
It's crazy.
Both, it's crazy. It's what you really want. It's really what you want in baseball, definitely. I'm excited. I hope another 7-game series happens with the World Series. Truthfully,
I think the Rangers will win, but I want the Diamondbacks to win.
I think
Rangers in 6.
I think Diamondbacks in 7.
Ooh, I like it.
Oh yeah.
We finally disagree on something. Well, we disagree on something else.
Well, we disagreed about the Seahawks defense being elite.
See, this is why it's tough to do a show with your friend because I agree.
Yeah.
But you know what? He's wrong about the Diamondbacks. I'm just kidding. I hope he's right about the Diamondbacks. Actually, no. I'll say this.
That'd be the first World Series win if Niko has his way for the Rangers. By the way, so who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not my way though. I don't want that to happen.
We don't want that.
No,
because then you have to hear it in the division for forever.
Yeah.
So
I also think we're gonna wrap the show up in a couple minutes here. I want to make a couple final points.
Sure.
Quick hitters. I think that the Sounders are going to make a nice run in the MLS Cup.
Mm-hmm.
They open up things Monday at home against FC Dallas.
I need the Orca hat. Need it.
Oh my God.
Need it.
Is that not the coolest logo?
I'm telling you. I mean, we love green and blue here.
Well, green and blue, but like, who doesn't want an Orca logo?
Exactly.
I'm going to order that right now. I think
that's
so cool.
You had more points. I'm sorry.
No, I think that was kind of you got me thinking about an Orca logo, and I'm like, oh
well,
I'm useless now. No, I think that I think Sounders are going to make a run. I think that the Seahawks are going to split these next 2 games, but win the next 3 after that. I think they're going to beat the Niners at home on Thanksgiving.
Ooh, be fun.
And then I think we'll hear about the Sonics coming back within the next year. Wow, those are some big extra points to make, aren't they?
That's crazy. Niko's kicking it from the 50 over here.
Hey, my God, who's that guy who used to kick the 60-yarders? Matt Prater?
Matt Prater.
Well, he's not. He doesn't do those anymore.
Everyone kicks 60.
All right.
Yeah.
Najee, this was fun, man.
This is good. I liked it.
Yeah. So we'll bring you more elements. We love doing the segments with you, and we can't wait to talk to you more about all things Seattle sports. Welcome to the KOMO Sports End Zone. We're so happy to finally bring this to you from the video perspective on YouTube, the KOMO News channel on YouTube, and we're going to keep going with this. Probably switch up the jersey next week. Unless they win, then I got to keep wearing it.
I've been wearing this for the past week, so
I'm going to keep this on. I'm going to keep wearing this for this show until the Seahawks lose. If they lose to the Browns, then you might see me back in a Sonics jersey or Kraken or something like that. But
there's worse things.
Yeah. So go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Go Corbin Carroll.
Go Huskies.
Go Huskies. Oh my God. How could I forget that?
Yeah.
Love the dogs. To my shout out to my boy Dubs.
Shout out to Dubs.
That's the KOMO Sports End Zone. He's Najee. I'm Niko. We'll see you next week.